Once upon a time, there was a king who had three wonderful daughters. The youngest, Psyche, was more beautiful than her two sisters, and looked like a goddess among mere mortals. The fame of its beauty had been spread throughout the whole kingdom, and men kept coming to her palace to admire and worship her. When people would see her, they used to say that not even Aphrodite herself could compete Psyche. The more people were getting to know Psyche, the less they would remember the goddess of love and beauty. The temples of Aphrodite were abandoned, her altars covered with cold ashes, and the sculptors would no more make statues for her. All the honors reserved to her were then attributed to a simple mortal girl. The goddess could not accept such a situation and required help from his son Eros. He told him in distress, "Use your power and make this little shameless girl to fall in love with the vilest and most despicable creature who has ever walked on earth." Eros agreed to do so, but the moment he saw her, he himself felt his heart pierced by one of his own arrows. He couldn't make the charming maiden fall in love with a horrible creature, but also decided not to tell his mother. Psyche, however, was feeling bad because not only she could not fall in love with someone, but, even more surprising, nobody seemed to really fall in love with her. Men were happy just to admire her. Then they passed by and married another girl. Her two sisters, though definitely less seductive, had held two lavish weddings, each with a king. Psyche was the most beautiful girl on earth, but she was sad and lonely, always admired, but never really loved. It seemed that no man would want her as a wife, and this caused great anxiety and distress to her parents. That is when her father went to visit the oracle of Delphi to ask Apollo for an advice on what to do to find a husband for Psyche. The prophecy of God was terrible. Apollo decreed that Psyche, dressed in black dress, should be brought to the summit of a mountain and stay there alone. The husband that was assigned to her, a winged serpent, terrible and more powerful than the gods themselves, would come up and take her for his wife. On a hill and in the dark, Psyche remained seated and waited. While she was shaking and crying in the quiet night, a slight breeze reached her. It was the fresh wind of Zephyr, the mildest of the winds. He felt that she was being raised. She was being taken into the air, over the rocky hill, to a soft meadow full of flowers. He did his best to make her forget her pain and put her to sleep. She then woke up by the sound of a clear stream, and when she opened her eyes, she faced an imposing and magnificent castle. It seemed destined to a god, with gold columns, silver walls, and floors of inlaid precious stones. Absolute silence ruled. It seemed uninhabited, and Psyche approached cautiously to admire its splendors. She remained suspicious at the threshold where she heard a noise but could not see anyone. However, she could clearly hear the words, "The house is for you. Come in and do not be afraid. Take a bath and we will immediately honor you with great dinner." Never had she taken such a refreshing bath nor tasted such delicious dishes. While eating, she heard a soft music around her, like a harp accompanying a numerous choir. She heard it, but she could not see it. The whole day she was alone, only accompanied by the voices. But somehow she knew her husband would come at night, and so it was. When she felt she was close to her and heard his voice whispering sweetly in her ear, her fears disappeared. Without even seeing him, she was certain that he was not a monster, but the loving husband she had always been wishing for. The following days passed in full joy, and Psyche could not remember any happier time of her life. However, day after day she was feeling left alone all day, bored and sadness that she could not see her husband. Suddenly she started missing her family. They must have been mourning for her, and she was alive and happy. This was not fair, and she didn't want her family to suffer. That night she asked her mysterious husband to grant her a favor. She wanted her two sisters to come up at the palace and make sure that she was fine. That would be a comfort for her old parents. At first, her husband refused, but when Psyche turned out so sad, he told her, "Okay, I will allow your sisters to come up here, but I am warning you, do not let them influence you. If they do, you will destroy our relationship and suffer a lot."